Welcome to the Leading Hope Podcast with Kevin Jack. Your influence will lead people somewhere, lead them towards hope. Everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.
Welcome to Leading Hope with Kevin Jack. I'm your host, VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. We release a new episode every Wednesday, so we'd love for you to share on social media and bring others along with us on this journey of becoming a better leader. Visit leadinghope.online to get updates and find out more about the Leading Hope community. If you are new to the podcast and this is your first time or haven't yet subscribed, it would mean the world to us if you did that now. Also post about it, rate and review. You will not believe how that helps us get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders like you. Today, Kevin, we're on episode 42. We've titled this Trust Code, and it's part of our new series of trust, and we are joined with some fabulous people. Take it away.
Hey, everyone. In the interest of trust and honesty, I need to correct something. You say every single time, if you would share and review, it would mean the world to us.
Yes.
I just wanted you to know, it really wouldn't. Like, we'd be grateful, but it's not that hard. It really wouldn't mean the world to us. Like, if you do it, that'd be nice.
Gotcha.
But that's about all the further I'm going to go to that.
All right.
So
well, it'd mean the world to me and not Kevin.
There you go. Hey, so we are continuing our series on trust. So in the first episode of this series, we talked about how, hey, we wanted to make a case that trust is the most important work. Developing trust on a team, in an organization, in a culture is the most important work that a leader can do. And then last episode, we were joined by some members of our team to describe our process that we have gone and are going through to create and maintain trust on our team. And so if you didn't get a chance to listen to that one, I would highly encourage you at least go back and listen to the previous episode. But I'm joined by our team who I'm going to reintroduce you to so you can recognize their voices very quickly. Right now, we are joined by Dusty.
Hey.
Alyssa.
Hi.
Keisha.
Woot woot.
And Heather.
Hello.
Okay, so you're going to hear from them in just a minute, and I've got some questions for them. But today we are talking about a trust code, and more in particular, we are talking about our trust code. And what this is these are the behaviors and agreements that we have made that will maintain and enhance the level of trust on our team. And for us, these are really important because as we've worked through different material as a team, one of them being Patrick Lencioni's book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which was fantastic for us. He did a great job of clarifying the symptoms of mistrust and the behaviors that lead to a lack of trust. But then it's kind of harder to identify what are the things that create trust. And so these are ours. These are the ones that honestly we were just naturally doing. And then we thought it was important to actually write it down. That way future people coming into our organization and working with our team would know, hey, this is what's expected of them. This is what they should be doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through this very quickly. If you go to our page and check out the show notes, our trust code is right there. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time. You don't have to worry about remembering it or writing it down. I just want to give you a glimpse of what it is. And then we're going to jump into a conversation with our team so you can see the benefit of this and how it lives within our team and within our conversations. And so the important thing is not necessarily what the commitments and practices are. The important thing is how it shapes who we are and what we do. So we have 6 kind of key parts of our trust code. 3 of them are commitments and 3 of them are practices. And so I'm going to walk you through those real fast. So the trust commitments, the 3. The first one is go to the source. And we say we go directly to an individual when there is conflict or tension. We will never go to others first because it creates internal politics. And so we kind of have this thought that like, hey, we want to go right to a person. We don't want to talk about it beforehand. We don't want to, and sometimes this comes under the guise of like, could you help me know how to deal with this? And as soon as you do that without going to the person, that creates those internal politics. So we go to the source. The second one, we say this is the statement, and it comes on the other side of go to the source. And it is, we will not allow ourselves to be the other that someone goes to. Instead, we will respond with, I can't talk to you until you talk to them. That is the statement. I can't talk to you until you talk to them. It enhances and solidifies go to the source. And then the third commitment is to be a referee. We call relations of trust building behaviors on our team. We don't wait and hope that someone else will keep the trust of our team. We are each responsible. Heather is, as we call it within our group, Heather is the keeper of the trust. And Heather is the one who we make sure, like more than anyone else, clarifies, hey, we're not going back to where we were. We're staying with this right now, but it is a shared responsibility for all of us. So those are the commitments. Go to the source, the statement, and be a referee. And then those are complemented by 3 practices that foster trust. And these are our 3 practices that we focus on. The first one, we think out loud. And we say we don't need a final thought to express a viewpoint. The best ideas are always messy at first. Thinking out loud allows us to both entertain a minority viewpoint to see if there is any traction and to clarify our understanding of current reality. And so we say, hey, it doesn't have to be well-formed. It doesn't have to be right. You can just say, hey, just thinking out loud here, that allows us to express a different viewpoint. And when we think out loud, it better enables the second practice. And our practice is we fight. That's how we fight. And we say, call it civil discourse if you need to, but we are passionate and unguarded in our discussion of ideas. We fight for what we believe is best and encourage others to do the same by asking and listening, because through the discussion, we gain insight of viewpoints we couldn't see on our own. We have conflict. It is interesting. Sometimes it is tense. It is passionate. We disagree. And when we disagree and fight, instead of mutter in the background, it enhances the trust of our team. And then the last one is the one that I think just really kind of comes around and catches anything on the back end. And the last practice is we apologize quickly. Say, be it fear, anger, or a mistake, we all violate trust at times. We own it up front and we apologize quickly. We do this to increase the trust on our team. And I think I may live into practice number 3 more than anyone else, because I have to live into practice number 3 more than anyone else. And I know in this row of people that I am looking at, I have apologized to all of you multiple times for ways in which I negatively impacted the trust on our team. But that's okay, because it's a practice and it's something that enhances it. So now I'm going to turn to you guys, and you guys are going to do the majority of the talking for the rest of us. We've gone through the 3 commitments, the 3 practices. Again, those will be in the show notes if you want to check them out there. But for you, which parts of the code are most important to you? And Dusty, if you want to launch into this one first, because you're the first one in my boxes on my Zoom call thing. So Dust, which parts of the code are most important to you? And then anyone else can pick up the conversation.
Honestly, to me, the one that really means the most to me is going to the source, just because it's the one I needed the most practice at. So
Yeah.
You said, your big thing is apologize quickly. Mine is going to the source, because I always approach that with a little bit of fear and trepidation of like, okay, if I really tell this person how I'm feeling about this, aside from telling somebody else how I feel about this person, then, am I going to be fired? How's that conversation going to go? And that's just a part of my personality that I've come to understand. But it's more of a spiritual discipline for me at this point to understand and recognize, hey, whenever I have an issue with something, I'm not going to go to anybody else. I'm not going to vent to anybody else. I'm going to go direct to that person and say, hey, here's how I feel right now. And that just prevents my own thoughts from going out of control, because then I don't have to have those internal conversations in my head about how this person would respond if I told them this. So for me, that's the big one.
That's good.
For me, I'd say it's thinking out loud and fighting. I think prior to going through this work, I often held back on thinking out loud. I wanted my thought or my viewpoint to be like fully formed and kind of perfect in my mind before I presented it. Like I wanted this like really clear, concise thing. But I've learned through that I fight really well. Like I have no problem pushing back against ideas. I just sometimes have an issue bringing my own ideas to the table. But I've learned like through that process of fighting about our ideas and just sharing different perspectives on it, that my perspective is important, even if it's not fully formed. And so that's really encouraged me to do the first so that I can do the second really well.
Good.
I love be a referee as the keeper of the culture, of course, but I don't think you can have that without the fighting. Nothing gets better unless we talk about it. I firmly believe that in order to do that, we need healthy conflict. And so I think part of what I do as a referee sometimes is become a catalyst for that healthy conflict, call out those things that we need to talk about, and then hash it out.
That's good. Keish, how about you?
Yeah, the one that I appreciate the most is to apologize quickly. I think that we all make mistakes, and when we are leaders, but also just teammates, and we apologize, it makes that trust like we're being vulnerable. And so immediately trust is formed between the people that you're apologizing to, and it makes you more human. Like, if we think we're above messing up, that's not a very fair way to approach a team or people that you lead. And so when you apologize, it just gives an opportunity for that trust to be built and for people to identify with you and give them permission to apologize when they mess up.
That's good. V, how about you? Which one would you jump in on?
I would
Which
go
important?
straight to the civil discourse. The fighting. I mean, at the end of the day, I think when we really talk about the word fighting or civil discourse or whatever, is that we're actually not doing against each other. We're fighting together. It just seems like we're in the room with each other. And there's no one else there, but that's not true. We're actually just fighting to get to the right spot. We're all trying to do the right thing, and the only way to get to the right thing is to talk about it. And sometimes those are passionate talks, and you can call it fighting, you can call it whatever, but sometimes everybody in these circles, or not circles, but these squares, rectangles, are very passionate people about the thing that God has set them up for success to do. And so with that comes a lot of fire, a lot of wherewithal, a lot of things that keeps you from seeing where you're going to go. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, if I can fight about something that matters, then something's going to come out on the other side, and it's going to be good.
That's good. That's good. So I'm hoping this is giving you a sense of like, man, how this code interacts and how it functions within our organization. So the next question I have, and Alyssa, I'm going to have you start this off. Which parts of the code are hardest for you to live into?
Well, for me, it's the statement. I don't know why, but people come to me with things. I don't know what advice I've given in the past that have made them do that. I think it is often framed in, Kevin, like you said, like, hey, I'm just trying to figure out how I deal with this situation. And I like jump on that. I love to tell people like how to work through interpersonal issues. That's my training and that's my background. And so it's difficult for me to say like, well, have you talked to this person about it first? I know that that's something that I need to work on and I need to get better with.
Good.
I'm making a mental note to stop going to Alyssa for advice.
I'll give you advice. Come to me.
Thinking out loud is a tough one for me. Similar to Alyssa, I hesitate to say something if I don't have a fully formed, complete response or thought. I think insecurity plays into that. I don't want people to think I'm stupid or worse, that I'm not prepared. And so thinking out loud is a tough one for me to do.
I struggle the most with fighting. I'm a lover, not a fighter. That sounds creepy, but it's always this thing that's like, it's not because I lack passion. And I think when you don't engage in fighting or continuing to see something through, it comes across that you lack passion. I just don't ever want to hurt someone's feelings that's around me, which makes me sound probably more noble than I am. But really, it's like, okay, well, if the person that fights the most is VJ, I will give him that. And sometimes it's like, oh, I got to prepare because I'm going to go talk to VJ and we're going to fight. But as a part of this team, and I'm learning that like you have to, like sometimes you have to, because in that process you learn what's most important. And if I don't fight, then sometimes things are compromised that could come out better. So thank you, VJ, for being a great
Sure.
Dusty, how about you? Which one's hardest to live into?
I was trying to go back and forth. It's probably somewhere between fighting and thinking out loud, but probably thinking out loud is the most difficult one for me because I really like to have the answers to things. Mm-hmm. And I really don't like to process my thoughts in real time because number one, I tend to say stupid things without actually thinking about it because words don't have a whole lot of value to me, as been pointed out over years of marriage. But I have to be careful of that because I'm not a words person, I'm an actions person. So for me to really just spit stuff out that I think might be a dumb idea, or feel like, oh, I'm going to look at everybody's faces and see, was that a good idea? Oh no, okay, I don't want the responsibility of those bad ideas. I just want everything to come out perfectly. So that's a little difficult for me. And a lot of times when we're coming up with, how to do ministry in creative ways, it requires a lot of thinking out loud, or else ideas just don't come out. So.
That's good. How about you, V?
Man, I think be a referee is the hardest for me because at the end of the day, no matter what you're fighting about or what you need to be a referee on, I think you always have a side of it that you want to choose. And so for me, it's like I want to put my personal feelings or my personal emotions into this thing and pick a side. And so I'm not going to be a referee. I'm going to pick a side and team up, right? And not be a referee, which sometimes my opinion and my emotions and my feelings don't need to be interjected into the conversation of what someone's having. I need to just say, hey guys, let's take a break, or let's referee and be a referee. And that's hard for me. So I think that's the tough one for me.
If you're listening on audio while VJ is stating that sometimes his opinions and emotions don't need to be a part of the conversation, everyone is quietly and slightly shaking their heads back and forth. No, it does not.
It's true.
Okay, so I'm
feeling very
question.
Vulnerable now.
It's a good thing.
That's right.
Last question, and I think this is the most important one. So we may go a smidge over time-wise, but I really think this is worth it, is we're having this conversation not because we've got this trust thing down. We're having this conversation because we have explored the benefits of it, have seen how important it is, and we are still in process because we know trust is what you always work towards. You don't just have it, you constantly pursue it. So where do we still have work to do? For the person who may look at this and feel discouraged and go, if my team was like them, let's show them we're a lot more like your team without trust than you may think. We still have work to do. So Keish, I'm going to ask you to start us off. Where do we still have work to do on our development of trust? And then anyone else can jump in.
Yeah, sure. So I think as a team, we still need to work on being referees and calling out those violations of trust on our team. It just happened to me this week where I allowed myself to not handle conflict right away, and then dwelt on it for 10 hours and made up all these untrue stories in my mind. And then when I was speaking to someone, I went to the source and they're like, well, why did you wait that long? They called me out and I was like, well, you're being rude for calling me out. And, so it's just kind of they're doing exactly what they should have been. And I was the one behaving badly. And so as a team, I think sometimes, calling that out is helpful in that moment. And it just reframes that behavior that isn't helpful. And so I think as a team, we really need to do that better and quicker.
Good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that one, being a referee, is a really difficult one. And I think it ties in well with, what I think we really also still need to keep working on is going to the source, right? It is difficult to, I've seen someone violate trust, or I feel that my trust in this person has been violated. Now I have to go have a hard conversation. And sometimes that's tricky and sometimes you just don't want to do it. And I think there is a lot of vulnerability and insecurity in that. But it just makes us better when we do that.
Yeah, we're human, right? We don't always have the energy to do all of these things. It's challenging, but as pastors also, all of those trust commitments are huge in what we do. People come to us and lay their burdens on us, and we have to say, okay, well, did you go talk to that person? We have to we have to make those statements and be the referee in those conversations, like almost on a weekly basis. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think right now, probably the number 2 in the trust commitment is the statement that we will not allow ourselves to be the other that someone goes to. Like I've found, even these last couple of weeks in the season that we're in right now, where, we've got all the uncertainty of the COVID season and, we've got all these different ministry things that are almost changing by the week because we've had to adapt so quickly. I find that, a lot of people, even our congregation, come to us in different pockets and say, hey, what's going on over here? Hey, what's going on over here? It's like, what we're really trying to do with that statement is we're trying to encourage people to follow number 1, which is, hey, not only do we need to go to the source, we need you to go to the source because we can't answer questions that, number 1, we don't have all the information on because we're not in charge of those ministries. So I can't give you a great answer. And number 2, I don't want you to accidentally take on my thoughts in the situation because people tend to adapt and absorb those. So if I say something about this other ministry over here and trying to give them an accurate answer, it may, number 1, not be accurate at all because I don't know. And number 2, if I have any bit of cynicism in what I say, they're going to absorb that as well. And that's not going to be good. So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think. For me, it's. I would agree. It's between the referee and the go to the source. I think at the end of the day, it's probably go to the source because as people, as passionate as we are, and as fast acting as we are, as fast as we are moving, that go to the source becomes bypass the source, which is not good for you because then you do more work, and then not good for them because they don't know where they might be seeing things that they need to change. And so bypassing the source, I've caught myself doing that a few times, and I think I just need to go to the source more. And I think if our team does that holistically, we'll find more passionate people leading people further than we can right now.
One of my things that I've always held to is there was a psychological study years ago that was done on the issue of venting. And we have said for years that people go, I just need to vent. I just need to vent. And what they found was that when someone offloaded all their anger and frustration to someone else, that what that actually did was it created more ongoing anger and frustration in their life. And it just kind of recirculated within their own mind and within their own soul. And that's something that we've held up of people have vented for years. And if you vent, you're not making it better. You're actually just making your own personal ethos worse within everything that you're doing. And so, man, what I want you to see is we have this conversation of the work that we're doing, the behaviors and practices that we're engaged in. It doesn't just make your outside life better. It makes your inner life better. It makes who you are better as a whole. And so we've got one more episode in this series that I want you to join us back with next week. But that kind of wraps us up for today. VJ, go ahead and take it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us for episode 42, Trust Code. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it would mean the world to me if you did that now. Also, post about it and rate and review. You will not believe how it helps us get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders like you. And again, we do want to thank you so much, Dusty, Alyssa, Keisha, and Heather for joining us today and giving us your insight and your thoughts. It's so powerful for everyone to hear from a team perspective. And we love hearing your stories of how the podcast is working in your life and business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online and send that to us. We'd love to hear your stories. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.